Hello, people. Here is Andy. Welcome to the bonfire. And today I'm making a video which was requested in the commentaries, and the video will be targeting the difference between the words understand and comprehend. So it's a very interesting request, and I'm very thankful for it. The request is quite challenging. This kind of conversation, this kind of distinction between two words which are synonyms are quite often hard to handle, to grasp. And it's hard to handle the explanation because very often the distinction really requires not just the definitions from the dictionaries, but requires continuous exposure to the language, to its paths, to ways how people express themselves, styles and contexts. So my explanation will not be based on dictionary entries because I don't think it will actually help, not here, not in many similar cases, but I will just go step by step through different examples, and hopefully by the end of my speech we will get closer to distinguishing between these two and understanding how they should be used. So the words understand and comprehend, as I said, are quite similar, and I think we can skip the part where we go to dictionaries and examine their explanations, because very often it boils down to something like that. Understand means to comprehend, comprehend means to understand. And that, of course, you can imagine is not really helpful. That's why I'm gonna skip this one and go to differences in usage. And I'll give you a couple of examples, kind of stories. One of them will be a story, one of them will be a quotation from a book. Also, we will philosophize a bit. And I think I'll begin exactly with philosophizing. So people have traditions about how they express themselves, and by these traditions I mean that some words are more common, some words are less common. It just happens, and I think I can say that the more common a word is, the less rich its meaning is. That means that if you want to express some unique, very special emotion, sensation, experience, you probably will, even intuitively, subconsciously, want to choose something more particular, something more fancy from the dictionary. While for common situations, you will go with common vocabulary, with common English. We kind of have this common English concept and fancy English concept. At least I myself call it so. Let me give you a couple of examples, not understand and comprehend, but let's think about a situation which was, well, unexpected. And depending on the level of surprise, you might say, well, I was surprised. You can say, I was amazed. You can say, I was very surprised. Those are relatively common, although amazed is already kind of going towards a more particular situation, right? But let's imagine that the situation was really extraordinary. And you see that as I go towards specific cases, I'm also changing my vocabulary describing the situation. So the word extraordinary definitely by its essence is very different from a surprising situation, an unusual situation, because it's now out of ordinary and it's also extra. So what can I say to express my emotions? I will say something like, well, I was stunned, I was astonished, and I might go with some extreme adjectives. I can go with something like I was astounded, I was flabbergasted, that was a jaw-dropping experience. And so you see, the vocabulary shifts. They're all pretty much synonymous. And again, if you go to dictionaries, flabbergasted probably could be explained as being extremely surprised. And you cannot, I've seen that a lot throughout my teaching career, that you cannot technically explain such adjectives by just a definition. You will have to make an example, a particular situation where you feel that, where you feel astounded, where you feel astonished, where you feel bewildered, and so on and so forth. So, or let's think of something like, well, verbs, like think. Well, you need to think about it. We say to somebody who we just gave a life lesson to. So you need to think about it. By saying think, well, we just say, well, spend some time using your brain processing this information. But we might send a stronger message. We can say, well, go consider that. Go consider that seriously. By using consider, we again send a stronger message. Or we can go very kind of philosophical almost. We can say, well, go ponder on that. Or even go ponder upon that. Or dwell on that, which means, well, do spend considerable time and mental effort on what I told you. It's not just think about it. By changing our choice of words, by leaving the beaten track, we send an extra message, and the listener usually grasps that because we have, well, we have chosen some rarer words, not something very common. And the same happens with comprehend and understand, basically. But let me touch upon that just a second later. So we have different contexts, we have different situations which we try to describe, and we choose our vocabulary accordingly. We also have different styles of self-expression. It really depends on personality. Again, go into different choice of words. You can say, well, imagine you prefer this slangish manner, kind of straight English. You can say, well, I was freaking scared. I was freaking frightened. Or I was like, what the hell, man? So you can go with such phrases. You can go with some bad language, like using some jargon and stuff, which is, well, very expressive by itself. Or you can say, well, I was terrified. I was scared stiff. I was horrified, and so on and so forth. That was a shockingly fearsome experience. So, and usually it depends on how normally you would express yourself, what range of vocabulary you have. And I'm not saying that one set of vocabulary is better than the other one, because I myself am inclined to choosing some kind of more academic vocabulary. That is because of my education. That's because of my personal preferences, and I'm actually quite jealous to people who can switch to this slangish stuff very, very quickly in both languages that I speak, in English and in Russian. And I cannot do that often because it requires certain training, and it again requires certain exposure to such manners. All I'm saying is just you are likely to use what you are most used to. So some people might be used to, again, to the word understand, and some people might be used to more fancy vocabulary, and the word comprehend will be more appealing. So now, speaking of the differences here, I think we can start trying to draw the line. Understand, as you can imagine, and even if you check some sites which have examined the popularity of the two, so understand has been dominantly much more widespread. It's incomparably much more widespread. So comprehend is always a niche choice. It's always popping up because of some specific circumstances, which could be, as you remember, as I mentioned, it could be a personal choice of style. It could be the context, like some scientific, academic context. It could be just a very special situation. Why this special situation might arise? Well, understand means to have the ability to grasp the idea, right? So comprehend essentially means the same, but if you look at the etymology and how the word is explained in a number of sources, you will see that to comprehend is to grasp the thing in its entirety, to understand all the aspects and details. And if you think about the adjective, so it's always helpful to look at the word family. If you look at the adjective comprehensive, what is a comprehensive approach? A comprehensive approach is an approach where everything is included, right? You don't say an understanding approach. I mean, you do say that, but it's a totally different story. So an understanding approach is an approach where we show some care and where we show that we are trying to be in the person's shoes, right? While a comprehensive approach exactly focuses on what comprehend means. That is to mentally grasp a thing or something else or somebody else in its entirety, or his or her entirety. Well, that's to comprehend. A more complicated word by its style, by the context, by the aspect of the verb's function, that it exactly conveys the meaning, the message that the subject tries to understand a thing in its entirety, thus comprehend. Now I'm going to give a couple of those examples that I mentioned in the beginning. One of them is going to be a story, just a little case from my own practice. So I had a colleague in my past experience, and my colleague was a speaker of French, and so English wasn't his native language, and he was a colleague, but also he was a student. It was a very interesting case. It was a center where we taught English, but at the same time, some more advanced students became teachers for less advanced students, because it was a volunteering center and we were just very interested in training more people to accelerate the knowledge sharing. So his English wasn't exactly most advanced, let's say, so he still had some gaps in his knowledge. And so once there was an event he could not attend, and he sent me a message notifying me about that, and I responded, well, thank you for informing me. It's a pity, but all right, it's okay. And he responded with, thank you for comprehension, Andy. And that was quite hilarious, because, of course, what we do say in English is thank you for understanding. We never say thank you for comprehension, because I still feel why it was funny, because I really felt then, I still feel that the message of his sentence was, thank you, Andy, that you're not stupid. Like, thank you that you can understand what I say. Not for being able to get into my shoes, like not being able to relate to the complexity of my situation, which doesn't let me attend the event, but thank you for comprehension, which is thank you for your cognitive abilities, that you have enough to read my messages and respond. Because of this very unusual choice, the message shifted crazily. And the message of his message, I mean. And that's what inappropriate choice of words can do, or choosing between the registries, between the styles incorrectly. Another example, and that will be the final, I think, the final piece in our discussion. It will be an excerpt, a quotation from the book The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. And you can see the text now. I'm going to read this passage, and please pay attention to the whole register, to how poetically the wizard is going to be the wizard's words, how he structures his speech, what kind of words he chooses, what kind of manner of expression he has. "And what have you done, most stupid of assassins?" the old man yelled. "What did you do? Do you comprehend what a work of art, what a miracle of genetics you have ruined? No, no, you cannot conceive of that with your shallow mind, layman. You cannot comprehend the ideas of brilliant people such as Idaran and Elzur, his teacher, who were graced with genius and extraordinary talent, who invented and created great works meant to serve humanity without taking profit, not taking base mammon into account, not recreation, nor diversion, but solely progress and the common will. But what can you apprehend of such things? You apprehend nothing, 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 not a scrap." So, as you can see, the wizard was, to say the least, very unimpressed by the Witcher's mental cognitive abilities, and he was hinting that essentially the Witcher was very stupid. That's why the word understand did not even appear in the passage. We have comprehend, we have conceive, we have comprehend again, and we even have apprehend, which is, well, such a rare choice that I don't even want to talk about. It is extremely specific and might be met just once in life, unless you're a scientist, of course. So you see, the overall manner is very literary, bookish, and kind of poetically humiliating. And that's why we use comprehend, not understand, because understand, because of its commonality, just won't be enough. Here I finish my speech. So I encourage you to maybe ask me more similar questions if you have some interest in differentiating between words, maybe some lexis, maybe some grammar questions. And thank you again to the person who asked me to clarify this topic for you. Till next time, bye-bye.